What are the kinds of social movements that do that? I mean, I can imagine some self-helpy sort of personal development type,
Oh, yes.
or even, Silicon Valley tech bro cults, nudging at the edges of that. But what do you see?
Well, I have to say that whenever I've had an opportunity to go to one of those change your life in a weekend seminars, the ones where they have the intro that's free, where they get people to bring all their friends, I always go along and look to see which tactics they use. But I see right now the progressive left, otherwise known as the woke, are using all of the tactics from my abuse series. And it really frightens me, where it presents everything, has all of the solutions, but you're not allowed to ask questions. You have to absolutely stick to the narrative with no exceptions. If you stick to the narrative, if you say you're one of them, then you can do all sorts of things wrong and it's accepted. It's really quite frightening. I have to say,
We
I look at it and I find it quite frightening because it's an absolutist totalitarian religion. It is not, I can't even call it a social movement. It's more like an extremist religion or one of those weekends where they claim that you can change your life. Because
Can you explain, Dina, to people who aren't very online, what the sort of nature of this movement is? Because I feel like we've had a hard time giving it a name, really defining exactly what it is. John McWhorter has his terms for it. Other people have their terms for it. We can call it woke. We can call it a certain elitist, regressive leftism or something. But can you kind of help people who don't spend all of their lives on Twitter understand what it is that you're talking about?
well, I don't think I spend all of my life on Twitter, although I've
No,
been
I'm
on
talking
there
about
more.
me.
I was going to say though, I have been on there more since, recent events have kind of impact on my social life. But what I'm looking at is if you have a movement that says it's about justice and fairness, and but if you ask questions, you see inconsistencies. For instance, it's supposed to be a movement that supports women's rights. But so many of the groups that are also supported by this movement don't believe in women's rights. And what women's rights are you talking about? If you are a conservative woman, your rights aren't included. You can be bullied enormously, terribly, and that's okay. It's just there's so many contradictions in it, but you're not allowed to notice. You're not allowed to step away. You're not allowed to say, I believe in this part, but I don't believe in that part. Because if you're not all in, you can absolutely be bullied. And that's what I mean about an extremist religion. Because with a social movement, it's like if you look at the environment, I come from California. So I care about using recyclable things. And, the place I lived in California, we got rid of single use plastic, 20 years ago. So I like seeing things about regenerating things, taking care of the earth. But some of the movement, some of the things they advocate, I don't buy into. And I don't have people protesting outside of my house because of it. With the woke movement, if you are a public figure at all and don't buy into every single thing that they say, you can be bullied to the point where you lose your job, where they'll dox you, they'll post your personal information online, you'll have all sorts of people calling you names. If you're female, you often get rape threats and death threats just for questioning what they believe is right and true. That's, I find, very scary.
So I suppose the acolytes of this way of thinking, the social justice warriors, if you will, would say to that this is what women and people of color have been enduring from the white patriarchy for centuries, feeling like they're being sidelined, diminished, spoken over, and abused, and that what they're trying to do is excise from public discourse people who are racists and sexists and proto-fascists. They see themselves, needless to say, as being on the right side of history and fighting for progressive causes.
And yet, they would look at someone like me and give me a hard time because I don't buy into everything, because I ask questions, because I have been trained to assess research. So when they give me crap research and say it proves their point and I can see through it, they come down on me like a ton of bricks. So as a Black woman who has faced racism, I mean, if anybody follows me on social media or in any of my interviews, and in fact, my YouTube videos, I talk about the racism that I have faced as a Black woman. I talk about sexism, and I talk about the fact that these social justice warriors are making everything worse. That is not how you cure the problem.